Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Alex, and I'm here to bring you all of the latest, all the latest Manchester United news this morning. How is everybody doing this morning? Make sure you're getting involved in the comments. Don't thank Cam this morning. It's just me and Joe here today. Me and Joe organising things. We've got coffee. We're all ready to go. We're talking about Jesse Lingard. We're talking about Declan Rice. We're talking about Harlan. Got stuff about David De Gea. It is all going on this morning. Hope you guys are well. But let's get straight into it and let's talk a little bit about Jesse Lingardinho. And first off, that performance from last night for West Ham. What a performance he had last night, especially in the first half. The fantastic goal he scored, very similar to the goal he scored against Watford all them years ago. Just breaking through from what seemed like his own box. Just ran all the way through, got the goal, fantastic finish. And then the little turn that he did for the next goal, Berbatov-esque turn he did for the next goal. Now, here's the big question this morning. This is the talk. Is Jesse Lingard coming back to Manchester United? Gary Neville said last night, he had a little bit of a talk about it. He said, look, if Jesse Lingard was to come back to Manchester United, he would have to accept the role that's similar to Dan James. Now, that had me thinking as well. I thinking like, is it better we have Jesse Lingard in that position? Is he the better one filling in when we've got injuries rather than having Dan James doing that role? Or is it better to buy someone else? Or is it better just to stick with Dan James? All these different options today. What do you guys think about Jesse Lingard? What do you think? Do you think we should sell him? Do you think he should stay at West Ham? Do you think we should use him in a make weight for a deal for Declan Rice? Do you think we should use it from a make weight for a deal for Jack Grealish to Aston Villa? All the potential options. Now, talking a little bit about Declan Rice, we had Henry Winter on the Tier 1 podcast with Ronaldo Brown and Jay Motti, so make sure if you've not already watched it, go and check that out. But he had a bit of a chat last week about Declan Rice and said how impressed he was of him and how he thinks that Manchester United, that's the kind of player that Manchester United need. And all the different options that Man United have, people talk about us needing to strengthen in the forward positions, the defence, but maybe Declan Rice is that one to fit in, is that one that makes everything click. And maybe, can we swap Jesse Lingard, who's having a fantastic time at West Ham, can we send him to West Ham, a little bit of a make weight, and bring in Declan Rice for a more realistic fee? Because look, we're all still looking at Manchester United. We need 3 or 4 players, and realistically, to challenge, we're going to need to spend £200 million plus. That's not going to happen. But we can make deals like that where, you know, we sign a Declan Rice that should cost us 80 million quid, which is, I know, a lot, but that's the price of a player like Declan Rice. And then we send Jesse Lingard there. It takes about 30 million off. We get it for about 50 million. Maybe that is the way forward. So make sure, if you've not, like I said, not already, go back and go and have a watch of the Tier 1 podcast. It has a little bit more of an in-depth about chat. Now, the next bit, clip is available. Let's have a watch of Henry Winter having a chat about Jesse Lingard and Declan Rice. Just a second. Joe's here for it. But like I said, make sure you get in the comments. What do you think? Would you rather see Declan Rice back at Manchester United? Would you rather see Jesse Lingard back? Would you rather see neither of them at Manchester United? Would you rather them see go for cash and all these different options? There is a possibility of all those things happening this summer. What do you guys think? And also, me and Jay have talked about this for a while about Jesse Lingard, that is he going to play his way into the fact we can't get rid of him? Now, that performance last night was one of, if he has another 8 of those, he's not leaving Manchester United. If he's looking that good, you cannot let Jesse Lingard go to West Ham, whether it be 30 minutes, especially in the position where we're at, where we just can't quite, we're not going to spend the big money on these kind of players. And he can fit in on that right-hand side, can fit in as a backup on the left, can fit in as a backup as a number 10. He's a very versatile player, but like I said, let's have a little bit of a watch of what Henry Winter had to say about Declan Rice and Jesse Lingard.
But actually, I've seen him in big games bring out big results. Cup finals. He dug Southgate with the under-21s out of a huge goal with the game. I can't remember, I think it was against under-21s in one of the tournaments. England will really have their backs up at the wall, and Lingard delivered. I think Manchester United and Lingard maybe have come to a parting of the ways in terms of Lingard needs to play regularly. He's reborn at West Ham. He's playing so well there. Sometimes players just need a change of scenery, a change maybe of training grounds, a change of, I don't know. But it's worked for him. So absolutely, if you can use him, I don't know what Lingard's worth, but if he can use him as part of the deal, then great. But I mean, David Moyes will fight hard to keep Declan Rice, particularly because he's so young. I mean, he could probably say to Declan Rice, listen, particularly if they get into a European position, he says, just give us another year here. I don't know. Declan's ambitious, but I can't speak for him. But he's not a mercenary. He won't move for the money. He will move for the opportunity and for the stage.
So that was Henry Winter's thoughts on Jesse Lingard and Declan Rice and that whole situation. He works for the Times, fantastic journalist. Make sure you're checking out that Tier 1 podcast with Jay Motti and Ronaldo Brown if you're not already. But now let's move on to another player that may be out the door at Manchester United, and that is David De Gea. Now, he got dropped this weekend. Drop might be not the word. I think Henderson probably took his spot. He didn't start for Manchester United this weekend against Brighton. It was Dean Henderson. And a lot of people saying, is that the sign that says that Dean Henderson is now our number one goalkeeper? I don't think it says he's bang on our number one goalkeeper, but I do think that there's starting to be a little shift in terms of who Ollie sees as number one. There's been a few reports coming out that apparently the Chelsea game in February, that Ollie was going to drop De Gea and start Dean Henderson. De Gea kicked off, made a big fuss and then started. Not too sure how good those rumours are, but apparently they were the rumours going around. Now, a couple of articles come out in the last couple of days. The one coming out today was about the price tag for David De Gea, and that being a £50 million price tag. That's from the Daily Mail. And Manchester United looking at getting £50 million. But I think the big problem in all of this, and I've mentioned this for a while, is going to be David De Gea's wages. £375,000 a week for David De Gea. A lot of money. There was rumours coming out that Manchester United may need to do a payoff, and that was in the Mirror yesterday, saying that Manchester United would need to do a payoff in terms to get rid of him off the books. That's not usually how transfers work. Usually other clubs pay us, but we're Manchester United. We do things differently here, as Ed Woodward would say. We're going to do things that no one else can, and we're going to pay off contracts rather than actually selling players. It's looking likely at that. United are currently spending a staggering £570,000 a week on goalkeepers. It's mad, that, isn't it? It's a lot of money, that. David De Gea, Sergio Romero, Dean Henderson, all on decent-sized contracts. United need to get rid of David De Gea, it looks like. But here's the big question. And I've been looking at this and thinking, is David De Gea better than Dean Henderson? Is Dean Henderson better than David De Gea? You can't argue that. But I think one thing we need to look at, if this summer we had to get rid of one of those, if we had to get rid of either David De Gea or Dean Henderson, you have to get rid of David De Gea. You can't let Dean Henderson go. A very good goalkeeper, very young, on a decent contract, not on a mad contract, £100,000 a week, 23. You cannot let that player go because he will do a good job elsewhere. And the worst thing we want to do, we don't want to get into the Schmeichel situation that we had where we end up splashing cash all over the place. We signed Fabian Barthez, Tim Howard, Taibbi, who can't. I've got a Taibbi goalkeeper here, which is the worst decision of all time. But signing players like that where you're just panicking, trying to get that goalkeeper back. We've got a goalkeeper that could be England's number one goalkeeper, Manchester United's number one goalkeeper for a long time, and is showing very, very good things. And I think that Manchester United have made that decision that, look, it may not pay off in the very, very short term. The next 6 months, Dean Henderson may make mistakes that De Gea might not, all these different things. But over a 10-year, 5-year, 10-year thing, which is what Manchester United need to be looking at, because, look, we aren't going to fix the problems at Manchester United in a transfer window. It needs to be over a 5-10-year period. Dean Henderson is a better option. And I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed and saying that David De Gea is a legend at Manchester United, and I completely agree. But at this moment in time, I think you need to let him move on. I think it makes sense. I think with the birth of his new child, I think it all makes sense for him to go back to Spain. Now, I think there's a potential that it could be a situation like Alexis Sanchez. I reckon he potentially could go out on loan next season. I think getting 50 million this summer is going to be very difficult, especially in the fact that Real Madrid probably aren't going to spend the money on him. They've got Courtois. They're not going to spend big on a goalkeeper. PSG potentially will. But the other Spanish clubs aren't going to spend big. The only other one with money is Barcelona, and Ter Stegen's not going anywhere. So I don't think that's the case. And I really, really don't think that that's going to be an option this summer. And I think that asking for 50 million is about right for David De Gea. He's got a long time left, a decent time left in his contract. but can we get out of the line? We've got a super chat this morning from C. Jones. Thank you very much. Fans want always play a single pivot, then talk about Rice, who doesn't play as a single pivot for West Ham. Makes no sense. I think that he doesn't play in a single pivot, but what he does is he allows the player next to him to be more advanced. I think that Ollie still may play 4-2-3-1, but if he plays Paul Pogba next to Fred, you saw the issues at the weekend where Fred's just not quite good enough on the ball. Declan Rice is. Declan Rice also plays in the 2. I completely agree. I think United are going to continue on playing in the 2. I don't think we're going to go automatically to be playing 2-8s, because I think that Bruno plays almost like a second striker, so much like a number 10. I think your other midfielder needs to do so much work, but I think he does a better job than Fred, and I think he can sit next to Paul Pogba, sit next to a Scott McTominay and do a better job. And potentially, Donny van der Beek, they could even trust Donny van der Beek to sit next to him and do that same kind of role. That is the big question. And I do agree, he's not going to fix everything, but I do think there's a possibility that he makes Manchester United a hell of a lot better team. A lot of people saying that, suggesting is we'll play a chunk of his wages. I agree, it's going to be mad. If he goes, who will be our number 2? That is a big question, and that's Adam McCullough spoke about this. We did a video about the De Gea Henderson debate after the watch along on Sunday, and he did speak about this, and I completely agree that it looks like Romero's out the door. Romero's not even been at the club. He's not even played. He looks to be done. Lee Grant is near enough a goalkeeper coach rather than a goalkeeper at this moment in time. Potentially, is it something like Joel Pereira comes back in? We've got a couple of goalkeepers on loan. Does he come back in and play as that second choice goalkeeper? I think that's a potential option. Let's have a quick look at this. David De Gea is set to leave Manchester United at the end of the season and looks likely to be joined by 4 other Old Trafford shot stoppers. Is that 4 leaving, Joe? Is that what the article says? That's 4 goalkeepers leaving Manchester United this summer. I'm guessing Romero, De Gea, probably Lee Grant is the other one that's probably going to go, in terms of maybe even retire or become the goalkeeper coach. The final one is just having a quick scan through this. Can't find the other goalkeeper that's going to leave, but it's probably one of the young lads that's going to leave on loan. But maybe potentially Joel Pereira steps up. Potentially we get someone else as a second option. You've seen how Chelsea have done things in recent years, signing people like Caballero, who's just going to sit on the bench and do a job, signing for a couple of £1 million. You've seen how we can get some decent goalkeepers. It looks like Joel Pereira can be a free agent at the end of the season. Maybe he gets a new contract. It's very much up in the air, and how things go, I'm not too sure in terms of it. Get Ben Foster in as a number 2, get him making vlogs on the sidelines. That would be. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see that one happening. But there is options like that. There is options in terms of signing maybe a more experienced goalkeeper in to come alongside Dean Henderson. That potentially could be the option. I think that will probably be the way things would go. Now, my final story today. You can't go a full news story without talking about it, and this is about Erling Harlan. Now, The Athletic wrote a little article today talking about how Erling Harlan fits in at all these different clubs that he's been linked to, because he's been taught to. Mino Raiola is physically going around trying to sell to all these different golf clubs, different football clubs. I've got golf. I'm back playing golf, talking about it. But Erling Haaland being moved on to all these different clubs and how he fits in there. And this says, United are thought to have cooled their interest in Erling Haaland, focusing more on finding someone to play on the right wing and a new centre-back partner for Harry Maguire. Now, interestingly about this, I looked at this morning about 8:30 when this new news article got released. It also got sent to me by Jay Motti. This is how we do things. When I went to get this in terms of making the graphic, this paragraph itself about United cooling their interest had been deleted from The Athletic. Oh, shock horror. I heard Joe gasp. But is there something in that? Is the case of, we know the news that maybe United aren't going to sign Erling Haaland, but at the same time, The Athletic know, as much as everyone knows, you've heard Romano talk about it all the time, that Manchester United is what the clicks are. And Manchester United is the big thing. And that Manchester United, anything happens, anything around Manchester United's transfers is the big news story. And I think that maybe The Athletic have gone, if we put a paragraph in there saying he's not going there, we can't write about that, then maybe they can't write everything about Manchester United and Harlan for the next 6 months. And I think that might be the case of it. I think United have potentially stepped away from Milan. I think a lot of these clubs, you saw Pep Guardiola talk this week, and I think it was a little bit of rubbish, but he's saying he can't afford it. I don't think that Man City will probably go out and spend 150 million this summer on Erling Haaland, but maybe there's something in terms of a lot of these clubs are stepping away from it. But the papers, the Athletic, even good journalists know these are the clubs that create the clicks. These are the ones that create everything, the buzz around all these transfers. And they can't get rid of these stories. And they're going to need to keep linking Erling Haaland to the likes of Manchester United, Manchester City, and everyone else. I don't know about this one. I just don't think United are going to spend £150 million on Erling Haaland. I just don't see it. I'd like to see it because, look, I think he ticks so many boxes. He could be there for 10 years and do a good job. I do see the problems with Raiola, but maybe he's just that good of a footballer that maybe you just need to get him in. Right, let's have a look at some of your guys' comments this morning. Let's have a read. Yes, oh no, golf. Yes, I know, Ross. I talked about golf. I apologise. I'll try and reduce that. Let's have a look. I would rather get a new right winger that's decent than get Harlan. I think this is one of the issues is that, you know, if we keep Cavani, Martial obviously had a bad season, but we have got centre forward. We've literally not got anyone that plays on the right. We need somebody. And I think that if we can focus on that, I think that'll be a big thing. I'd like us to go for someone cheaper and focus on maybe if we're going to get one marquee sign, I think Declan Rice is that one. I think that a Declan Rice fixes a lot of issues. The way he can drop in and kind of almost make us a back three when needed. But he does a great job. I think that Declan Rice should be our marquee signing this summer. A lot of people comment here saying, let's get Pedro Neto. Again, how much would that cost? I think he's a good player. I think he's good if we could get him for 30, 40 million. But you know what? The problem is, as soon as United pick up the phone, it's 50, 60 million, and then it becomes a little bit too much, and too much pressure comes on, and he's not that good. So many issues with that. I think that you know, if we can get someone for 30 million quid, I think that'd be happy. Right wing is a must for me. You need a full starting 11 before you can work on marquee players. What are those options though? Is Jadon Sancho still top of that list? He's had a couple of problems with Dortmund this season, mainly due to injuries. Not played as much as he has been doing. He's not been making the England squad. Gary Neville and Carragher did their squads last night. They didn't put Jadon Sancho anywhere near it, which if you'd have said that last summer, you'd have been in absolute utter shock. But he's not even making their squads at this moment in time. Didn't make Southgate's recent squad. Are we still going to spend 100 million on that player? I'm not 100% sure. People saying Traore potentially. He had that one little break last night. He's hardly contributed for Wolves this season. Again, how much is that going to cost for Traore? Is he worth more than 25 million quid? I don't think so. But we're going to end up spending 50. Rafinha, same kind of boat. All these kind of players that Manchester United linked to, I'd love to see them come to Manchester United in and around that 20, 30, 40, maybe 40 probably at the max kind of price. But it's looking more likely that we end up spending 50, 60, 70 million, and all of a sudden they're marquee signings and they've got more pressure on them, and then they don't quite live up, and then we bench them. I mean, look at Donny van der Beek. We spent 50 million quid on him last summer. He's not played. He's not really got into the rhythm, and all hell is breaking loose. Everyone's talking about him. Everyone's saying he's got to leave and all this kind of stuff. And realistically, he was always bought as a player that was going to be, you know, a backup to Bruno, potentially Pogba's replacement. But the pressure comes on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to play him because of the price tag. The pressure comes on Donny van der Beek every time he steps on the pitch. I think if we can get players for 30, 40 million quid, I definitely think that that's the way to go. Neto, Andre Silva, Koundé, Basuma, and some outgoings to make up for it. Easy as that. Easy as that. Hopefully, if we had a summer like that, I would be very, very impressed with Manchester United. I really just don't think that is going to be the case this summer. I'm expecting one big signing and a couple more, and I think that the players going out will be the key in terms of everything else. Right, that is all from me this morning. Thank you very much for joining me. Make sure you are giving this video a like, and make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We've got all sorts coming up. Have we got a youth review coming out today, Joe? Yeah. We do have a youth review coming out today. So we've got a youth review coming out today. We'll have all the build-up to Manchester United's Europa League game against Granada in the next few days. So make sure you are subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. I've been Alex, and I will see you in the next one. See you later.